You know, at this point, it's almost like y'all want me to embarrass you. Eddie Hearn does it again. He loses yet another purse bid, this time for his biggest American signing, Jaron Boots Ennis. Just happened today. This is breaking news. I'm going to break down everything that took place and give my perspective and thoughts. But first, let's get through the news. Subscribe. My name is Ego. I've been covering boxing over 10 years. The best in the business, and it's not even close, but we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. First, let's talk about the news. So, it's definitely been reported. Ring, everybody's reporting it. Jaron Ennis, Karen Chukhadzhian, Part 2, the rematch. This particular fight, the purse bid has been won not by Jaron Ennis's promoter, but by Karen Chukhadzhian's promoter. You never know. Says that Karen problem has become bigger than ever for Jaron Boots Ennis. Ring Magazine has confirmed that P2M Box Promotion has officially won the purse bid for the IBF welterweight mandatory title defense versus Karen Chukhadzhian. P2M, Chukhadzhian's promoter, claimed promotional rights with a bid of $2 million. Matchroom Boxing, they bid $1.5 million for the ordered but undesirable rematch. Jaron Ennis is already targeted to headline November 9th, a DAZN show in his hometown of Philly, Pennsylvania. His team was already resigned to the possibility of vacating the IBF title to move to junior middleweight. The hard decision would be deemed as a necessity since there's no interest in the mandatory fight with Ennis and Ukraine's Chukhadzhian. He already beat him. I've already talked about it. An upgrade to full titleists became the issue when Crawford was stripped of the belt. If you follow my channel, you would know that. The rematch never happened with Errol Spence and Crawford ended up moving up to 147. So pretty standard stuff so far. While the homecoming venture was successful with Boots in Matchroom, it says he was still on the hook for a mandatory title defense. Boxing fans who would have wondered how Chukhadzhian elevated back, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to get into all that. The bottom line is that's his rematch. That's his mandatory. It says Ennis's next move, meanwhile, will be decided in the coming days. The final bid is not validated until the sanctioning body receives 2 separate percentage deposits and signed bout agreements. Should Ennis vacate, Chukhadzhian would be ordered to fight the next highest rated and highest ranked person. Wow. So let Ego break it down. This is terrible news for Jaron Boots Ennis. And you guys told me I was out of my mind for my commentary regarding the Brian Norman Jr. unification fight. And I didn't see it the same way a lot of people seen it. A lot of finger pointing, people just instantly blaming the Normans and saying, oh, just take the money and all that. Now, fast forward to the future, we're in the same problem. How do you get outbid by another promoter with, truthfully, the biggest guy you got in America, for sure, Jaron Boots Ennis? It doesn't matter if the fight is desired or not. Boots has some choices now, and they're not looking so great, and I'll explain why. So, for one, they're saying this Karen Chukhadzhian. Actually, let me pump my brakes. Let me pump the brakes and break it down, because we have on my channel, the reach is insane. We have different level of boxing watchers. So some people, they might not know this purse bid talk. So let me spend a little bit of time talking about that. So purse bid is basically an auction style bidding system where if you have a promoter's license, you meet the minimum threshold, then you're liable or you're able to bid on a fight if the two parties can't amicably come to terms with the fight on their own. Meaning the IBF ordered Boots to fight as mandatory, which is Karen Chukhadzhian. They didn't discuss it. There was no negotiations. A certain time elapsed. So now it goes to a purse bid, which is, again, that auction, meaning anybody that meets those requirements, the minimum bid, promoter's license, blah, 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 they're able to bid on the fight, which is what happened. Eddie Hearn bid roughly $1.5 million. And then Karen Chukhadzhian, they bid more money than Eddie Hearn bid, right? It's that simple. Therefore, they won the purse bid with it's about $500K more money that they were willing to put down than Eddie Hearn in Rematch Room. So this one, it looks poor for your fighter. You've had Boots. This is his second fight with Rematch Room. The first fight fell apart with Cody Crowley. That was the intended opponent. It's no real fault that there's nothing Boots could have done differently, but that's a reality. The better fight that people maybe wanted to see was the fight with Crowley. He gets injured, can't get cleared by the doctor, so you brought in David Avanesian. Did good numbers in Philly, but the fight, really wasn't better than Crawford's fight with Avanesian, because at least Crawford had the man laid stiff versus the Boots fight. It was some pretty sharp work. Avanesian was taking small stands, and then he ended up not being able to come back out he said he was injured. Now, your second fight, you have an undesired fight. I get it, but you lose the purse bid. So Eddie Hearn went on wax and said he made all these offers to other champions. This is what he's claiming. There was this whole big hoopla about Barrios and Stanionis, and then namely Brian Norman. And people said, Brian should have took the deal. Nevertheless, none of those fights are happening next. So Boots did not get a unification, which is what he said he wanted to do. That's why I'm saying it's looking kind of shaky, because your promoter allegedly sent out offers. The people are pretty much coming back unresponsive or saying it's a lowball offer to the point where they wouldn't take it because it makes no sense for a unification match for them to get that purse. They're like, I'll stay with my promoter and make X, Y, and Z, or make that in a couple of fights, and they have a better vision for me, whatever, right? I went over this. I talked about this. You guys said I was tripping, and then now your promoter loses the purse bid for your next fight, so you may have to move out of the division to avoid this, right? Now, actually, you do have to. Jaron Boots Ennis will be stripped if he doesn't fight Karen Chukhadzhian. So then that creates a whole different conversation, which I'll get into right about now. Make sure you guys subscribe. Jaron Ennis, when he first signed to Eddie Hearns, you guys said, earn with Hearns, right? Oh, they got all the money. They got all the dates. You guys said Jaron Boots Ennis will have a fruitful and plentiful career. He'll get the dates. He'll get activity. Your boy Ego had questions. I questioned this partnership because you are already pretty much on the side that has the propensity to get fights done. And if you became a free agent and actually committed to PBC, because he wasn't with PBC. Let's keep it a buck. He wasn't a PBC fighter. However, he was working on PBC cards, or he was fighting and featured on PBC cards. So you had already developed probably some rapport. But I told you, Bozy Ennis and Boots Ennis, in my honest opinion, they went after the money. They think Eddie Hearn got this legendary bag, and that he probably promised them more money per fight than what they were getting. So instead of looking at the big picture and the grand scheme of things, they went with the short-sighted I could get more money per fight, but at what cost? You're getting more money per fight, but then as far as developmental fights or fights that really bolster your career, Eddie Hearn so far is not looking good in terms of delivering that. You were supposed to fight Cody Crowley, fell apart, right? Then you fought David Evanesian. Nobody really wanted that fight. Nobody really requested that fight. And then to go from David Avocado to failed negotiations and unifications, I don't really care about. A failure is a failure. Like if you're trying to get a driver's license at the DMV and they say you can miss 7 questions or you have to get a certain percentage on the actual behind the wheel driving. The bottom line is the person critiques you as you do the behind the wheel training. I've done it. I mean, anyone with the license probably has done this, right? So it's a pass or a fail. It's very binary, right? Where you either passed the permit test or you failed and you got to retake it. You either pass the driver's portion, the behind the wheel to get your license, or you didn't hit the score and they're not giving you a license. Very binary stuff, very linear. It is what it is. Eddie likes to talk about what could have been, should have been, cry over spilled milk. You couldn't deliver the Brian Norman Boots fight. You couldn't deliver the Barrios fight. You couldn't deliver the Stanionis fight. These are the facts. And then now you get outbid, right? Breaking, P2M Box Promotions has won the purse bid for Boots Karen 2. P2M, Karen's promoter, outbid Matchroom by roughly $250,000 to gain the rights. I mean, unbelievable, right? Then he changed it and said final bid amount was actually $500K apart because it was in euros. So he translated it. So a little bit of an error. But for $500K more, another promoter won the fight. Now, what does this mean? What this means is this is a German promoter who works with Karen Chukhadzhian. They could put the fight in Germany. It's just so funny because y'all said I was wrong and my channel's dumb and all this stuff. And I mean, what does this do for Boots? It's like if you take this fight, they're going to look after their fighter because they won the purse bid. So Karen Chukhadzhian, he's from the Ukraine. I don't know if he lives in Germany, but he has a German promoter, and they probably will give him home court advantage. So the only other option other than to surrender, because Eddie Hearn was trying to do a Philly card. They did a good live gate with the David Avocado fight. So now that you lost the purse bid, you can't do this fight or dictate where the fight happens and say, oh, we're fighting in Philly. You don't have that luxury because you lost. Losers don't get to pick. Which means Jaron Ennis will, if he's not okay with this, a lackluster rematch possibly happening wherever P2M German-based promotions wants to put it. They could put in Ukraine if they want. If they want to give Karen Chukhadzhian maxed out advantage, they could put it in the Ukraine and have Jaron Ennis fighting in enemy territory. So it doesn't build his American profile. It doesn't do anything for Philly if they fight in Germany, if they fight in Ukraine. Oh, actually, I just thought about that. Based on what's going on in the world with Ukraine and Russia, it wouldn't happen in Ukraine. But you guys get the point that I'm making. I want to clarify that because based on the political landscape of everything, if you watch the news, it's not going to happen in Ukraine. But Germany or wherever else they want, they're not going to put it in Philly, put it that way. Why would you? Why, if you're promoting Karen, you want him to win, and that's your fighter, why would you give Boots the home court advantage? So likely, if Boots is not okay with this, he has to move up to 154 and try to fight somebody. And then that goes against everything you said. You said you were signing with Eddie Hearn for opportunities, for legacy fights, and is so funny to me because when he was on Showtime and working closely with Steven Espinoza on PBC cards, the old media shapeshifters, they said, oh, Showtime can't provide him nothing. PBC ain't providing them big fights. Well, he's not with Showtime. He's not with Espinoza. Where are the big fights, right? And then now he has to go against what he said he wanted as a fighter, and that's never a good thing. What do I mean? So he said, this is his team. We want to stay at 47 and become undisputed. To vacate your belt or get stripped of your belt is literally the opposite. That's like saying, I want to clean my house, and then you're throwing trash on the ground, and then you're putting dishes in the sink and not washing them or putting them in the dishwasher. It's literally the opposite of cleaning your house is when you're littering and throwing your dirty clothes on the ground. You don't want to clean your house then. His team said that they wanted to be undisputed. They blamed Brian Norman, but for the same purse bid amount, you pretty much lost. Brian Norman's team was like, hey, we don't have to give up on negotiations. Pay us what we want. It's a unification. My son, Brian Norman Sr. said, my son will have to come to Philly and all this stuff. So pay like you weigh, give us the extra money, and you have yourself a fight. And this could have all been resolved all you had to do is give Brian Norman and them probably less than $500K, to be honest. It's up to them, but let's say $350K, add another $250K on top of the existing offer, you would have had a fight. Then you could have did it in Philly. They said they will fight in Philly, but they're no dummies. We're not peasants, they said. So now it's just a mess. Now you got Jaron Boots Ennis, who I don't know what he does. Fight at 54. But then Crawford already said there's no real interest. It's a lose-lose to fight Boots. Virgil Ortiz, I highly, highly doubt that Virgil Ortiz fights Boots in Philadelphia next. So who's he going to fight? They've already talked about Madrimov and Boachuk having good, strong performances despite losing. Boachuk lost to Virgil Ortiz, and then you had Madrimov lost to Crawford. And Turkey said he wanted to put them on the Better Be of Bevo card and the Fury Usyk Fury 2 card. So who knows if there are even options, because it shuffles the plan. That's the point I'm making. If you wanted to put them on these Saudi cards, then how are they going to fight Boots in Philly? So now you have to make adjustments. And then again, like I said, the bottom line is this is not what Boots said he wanted. He said he wanted undisputed at 47. So you basically became an email champ, and you had one title defense against a guy one remove from Crawford destroying him, and then now you move up. What does that do? Like, honestly, like, what does that do? You've done nothing at welterweight. Like, in the grand scheme of things, you didn't solidify, you didn't unify. Like, Errol Spence literally fought champions to get his belt every time out. Kell Brook fought the IBF champion. Sean Porter, unification, fought a WBC guy. And then Ugas, he fought the WBA champion who had just beaten Pacquiao, right? Jaron Boots Ennis, you guys said teaming with Hearn would get him everything that his heart desired, and I'm not seeing the vision. I don't see that. You got this fight with Boots that's now, 50-50. Maybe he takes it and surrenders and then fights wherever they want him to fight, or maybe he moves up to 54. But again, there's issues with moving to 54. It's not that Boots doesn't have the frame, but you've done nothing at 54. You have no belt, so you have really no legs to stand on. So, like, for example, hypothetically, Boots moves to 54. I mean, you're not going to have that much leverage. Like, how do you have leverage over, let's say, Virgil Ortiz to get him to do? If you had money issues that you couldn't get your unifications done in the previous division, who's to say that you don't have negotiation problems at 54? Because at 54, Virgil Ortiz could be like, I have more fights than you. I bring fans too. and I have a better name on my resume in Boachuk. Madrimov, he could be like, oh, yo, I just fought Crawford for X amount of bag. So, and here's the thing. Boots versus Boachuk, Boots versus Madrimov. These fights are nice little fights for boxing hardcores. These aren't big money-making fights, right? These aren't big money-making fights where you'll generate, like you put it on pay-per-view and it's going to do $1 million, like a mega fight. These aren't mega fights. These are just cool little fights for boxing Twitter and stuff like that. So I really don't even know what the next move is for Jaron Ennis. I mean, nor is it my problem because I'm not his promoter. So they got to figure that out. But this is definitely an L for today for Eddie Hearn and Jaron Boots Ennis. Boots and Bozy, they made the choice to go over there with Eddie Hearn. I don't think they would have all this struggle and strife trying to land a significant fight if they committed to PBC. But they went after the money, and you guys praised it. You guys said, oh, he's going to get activity. PBC wasn't giving him the fights. Now he's still not getting the fights, and it actually looks worse because Boots fought on Gervonta Davis's undercard in DC. Putting him in Philly all the time is pointless. Philly already holds Boots down. Philly already loves him. So him capturing, even though that wasn't the performance because it was the Karen fight, but let's say he got a knockout, which he didn't, but let's say he did, then putting him in the DC market, you could maybe capture some of those fans. That's how you build and brand a fighter. Told you, Eddie Hearn doesn't know the landscape of America. And you guys told me that Turkey had all the bread. Why are they losing purse bids for such a potential star that you guys were excited when he teamed up? You guys said Riyad's season has unlimited money to lose 10 million plus on Crawford, then turn around, do UFC at the Sphere and lose 20 plus million. And it's a drop in the bucket. You said it doesn't matter. But then now you're losing out on unifications for no more than probably 500K. You're losing purse bids for 500K. And y'all had the audacity to say that Boxing Ego was wrong and blame the Normans and like, oh, Brian Norman is stupid. He's not looking so stupid right now because he already has his next assignment. And then after, he could worry about bigger fights like the Teofimo fight, which is what I said from day one. This looks real bad, people. This looks bad for Boots Ennis that seemingly his team can't get nothing done. So I'll leave it at that because I don't know who he's even going to fight. I don't know what his next move is, but I do know what I've said throughout this video. If he moves to 54, this is not by choice, it's more by force. This is not what you said you wanted. So you got to question a person's like business acumen if they start getting in compromising situations and positions where the stuff they said they wanted, they're not getting. So as a result, they got to start, rerouting. It's like GPS. If you get on the Waze app and you're trying to drive to LA and you want to get off, you want to see the Hollywood sign, right? There's a right way that it took you. And if you miss the turn, now it forces you rerouting, right? Had you went and actually got off on the freeway, the proper exit, it said get off at 42B. If you would have got off there, you would have been right there where you needed to be. Because you missed your exit, you missed your turn, now you have to drive in the wrong direction, reroute, get off at another exit. We've all been there. And then flip around, get another highway, etc. So this is Boots Ennis. Rerouting. Jaron rerouting Ennis. This is not what you said that this partnership with Eddie Hearn was about. You said you wanted to unify the division. And now, because Eddie can't sew these deals up, you're forced to reroute and maybe leave the division and all this other goofy stuff. And is just a bad thing, you know, especially when y'all said Turkey had all the money. Why can't Turkey bail him out and give Eddie Hearn $600K or something to get this done? This is a guy in Jaron Ennis that we all know is talented. He's skilled and showed a lot of promise, but to catapult him over the edge, he got to fight bigger and better fights, and it's off to a rocky start. You guys are so gassed because a lot of you guys are either racist or anti-PBC and hate Al Heyman, hate PBC, hate Tank, and stuff like that. So you were happy that Jaron Ennis got away from being over closer to that side. But I care about the livelihood of the fighter, the fights that they're going to get. So we'll see. I'm going to keep my eye on it, see what Jaron Ennis gets next. But it's off to an abysmal start. You dig? Subscribe.